Hi everyone, welcome to WMI Attacks and Defense at Pentester Academy. I'm your instructor Nikhil Mittal. In this course, we are going to have a look at, as the name suggests, different ways of using WMI both for offense, that is, as attacker, and for defense. So a couple of things about me. You can find me on Twitter as Nikhil underscore MITT. I blog regularly on labofapenetrationtester.com where I share my research, my upcoming trainings, talks, etc. So that is my home on the internet. I've created two open source toolkits for red teamers and penetration testers, Kautilya and Nishang. Nishang is a framework, which framework and collection of PowerShell scripts which can be used in different phases of a penetration test or a red team operations. And Kautilya is a framework which generates ready-to-use sketches for human interface devices. So you just, it's a menu-driven program. You just provide some inputs and it provides you a ready-to-use sketch which can be used with the Arduino IDE. I'm generally interested in new methodologies to pawn systems or to break into systems, of course, where I have the permission to do so. And because I would like to have a look at new methods to break into boxes, that leads me to research or design new strategies to avoid those attacks, which helps a lot in learning. I have previously spoken at DEF CON multiple times at Black Hat USA, Europe, etc. Trained at Kensec West, spoken and trained at 44Con, BrewCon, and many more conferences. So that is about me. Now let's have a look at the course content. So this is the an overview of the course content. I will take a freedom of adding a couple of things or removing some things from this content, but this is the basic structure. So we will start with basics of WMI, what WMI is, its architecture, its components, how do we use WMI, PowerShell commandlets to use. So when we start using WMI, we need consumers or clients which can connect to a WMI service on a local box or a remote box and talk to the repositories, etc. So there are many consumers or clients which can be used for that. We are going to use PowerShell commandlets for that. One, because PowerShell comes installed by default on all modern Windows operating systems post Windows Vista. So rather it be desktop OSs or server OSs. Secondly, uh, we can do a lot of stuff with PowerShell in a lot less lines as compared to other, or rather with much less complexity as compared to other consumers or clients, like let's say VBScript or even WMIC. So all of these components, although provide similar functionality to PowerShell commandlets, it's much more easier to interact with WMI using PowerShell commandlets. So we are going to spend a lot of time on these, and we are going to use PowerShell commandlets most of the time in the course. So once we will be done with using WMI with PowerShell commandlets and other utilities, we will move on to relationships between WMI classes, how we can spot and use relationship between WMI classes to extract much more interesting information. Then we will move on to interacting with Windows components like Windows Registry on local box as well as remote box. Also, when we would be done with looking at different things on a local box, we'll move on to the remote box part. That is, we'll see if whatever we have done on a local box can be done on a remote box using WMI. So we will spend considerable time covering the basics of WMI, which would not only be very basics, this would not be very basic, but very interesting as well. So although this sounds a little on the basic side, it would be very interesting. Then we will discuss using WMI for attacks, that is using WMI for red teams. we will see how different phases of a red team operation can be performed using just WMI. So we'll start with enumeration and information gathering. We'll see how different pieces of information from a box or from Active Directory can be extracted without any special privileges with the help of WMI. Then we'll move on to the lateral movement part. From the information which we extracted or which we will extract in the information gathering part, using that we'll literally move on to some boxes in our lab, and once again just using WMI. Once we have moved laterally and have enough privileges, etc., with the help of WMI, then we'll move on to the next topic, which will be backdoors. We'll see how we can backdoor a machine using WMI by writing our own MOF files or WMI providers or creating our own classes, etc. We'll also see how we can use WMI as a communications channel or a file or instruction storage in the namespace. Then we will have a look at persistence mechanisms. I have separated backdoors and persistence in two topics because in case of persistence, we would be discussing mostly the WMI events, which we will not discuss in the backdoors part. So persistence would be that. And then we will discuss how we can modify security descriptors and ACLs of different namespaces or providers and some other services to play with the administrative privilege which is required to access WMI. That is, we'll see how we can just play with these security descriptors, etc., to use WMI as a backdoor mechanism, not really backdoor, a backdoor mechanism. Then we will see, after this red team section, we will see how we can use WMI for blue teams, that is for defense. So to begin with, we'll see how WMI can be used as an agent-less detection mechanism. Let's say to extract some information about a potentially malicious registry key, for example. We will see how we can use WMI across the enterprise without having to install any agent. So if we stick on this example, we want to monitor a registry key. So there are two ways. One, we periodically manually retrieve information about that registry key or its value and compare it to a well-known good value, or we can use WMI events to raise an alert or something, some information whenever there is a change event for that registry key or a file or a service or whatever. Because WMI provides the capability of raising an event for so many things in a box, there are hardly hardly anything which does not raise any event. Once we are done, and we are going to spend a lot of time on that. Once we have done with the agentless detection part, we are going to see how the different attacks or methodologies which we see for red team can be countered. That is, either we defend against them or we detect them just using WMI. So most of the times in both the red part and blue part, we will stick with WMI. But in some cases, let's say if we would like to extract secrets from a box, in that case, in place of trying to write everything in WMI, we will use WMI as a communications channel or a lateral movement mechanism to execute, let's say, PowerShell scripts or VB scripts on the target box. So that is how we are going to use WMI in this course. Once again, there may be some additions if I spot anything interesting even now. So that is all about the course content. And we'll move on to WMI basics in the next video.